NZ Aerosports, Icarus Canopies, now Gyro. That's right, we've rebranded, and Gyro is our next generation. It honours our founder, as that's the name we knew him by, but Gyro also marks the start of a new chapter. And not to be biased, but it's going to be fucking epic. Long story short, we're more us than ever, so if you're new to the sport, or even a Sky God Ninja Turtle, welcome. I think our valiant leader Lucy, Gyro's daughter, says it best.
And we still got that fuck your attitude. Rebrand! Woo!
Rebrand woo indeed, Lucy. Anyway, head over to gyro.com for more info and get amongst your legends.
I was 19, broke, unemployed, and sold my girlfriend's canopy for drug money. So I thought I better sew her a new one. What a sentence, and what a story. This describes the humble yet outrageous beginnings of NZ Aerosports, the home of Icarus Canopies, in the words of our founder himself. From getting a paratrooper toy from his mom, watching parachutes at the DZ as a 6-year-old, jumping off the wharf with a parachute made from bed sheets, doing his first jump at 16, sewing his first canopy on a borrowed machine at 19, and starting to sell parachutes out of a garage in 1986, Paul Gyro Martin had an undying love for the sky. Our company started with one man with the wildest of spirits and a true blue sky dream, a renegade. In the time that Gyro created and ran the Icarus Canopies brand until he passed away in 2017, he pushed everything he had to its limits. We miss him, and we always will. Gyro is the next generation of NZ Aerosports. It honors our founder, of course, because it was the name we all knew him by, but Gyro the rebrand also marks the start of a new chapter, our next jump. Gyro is the space between sound and silence, art and science, chaos and calm. Gyro is a state of epic tranquility that transcends understanding. That moment, in the door, in free fall, mid-swoop, where nothing but the present exists. A perfect balance of euphoria and thrill. Gyro captures our passion for flying and our commitment to designing break-the-fucking-rules canopies that deliver pilots pure, wild flight.
Coming straight from the cockpit, it's another episode of Lunatic Fringe with the fucking pilot.
Ready, set, go. All right, we are back in the can with another edition of Lunatic Fringe Into the Void. I am the fucking pilot, and I got another victim in here with me to chat about some really cool shit. So tell me, who are you and what the fuck do you do?
Hey, Dave, my name's Andy Ford, UK skydiver.
How'd you end up doing that? Is it your only extreme sport? Have you been doing it for a while?
Okay, so back in 88, I'm having a beer. It always starts with a beer, right?
Always.
And my buddy turns around and goes, I did a parachute jump. You'd love it. And I'd had enough to go, yeah, cool, let's do it.
Oh, a lot of that's happened.
And then a couple of weeks later, he asked me for a deposit. And I was like, what for? You know, you're like wanting £25, like $40. I said, what's that for? He said, the parachute jump. And I was like, oh, yeah, that rings a bell. A couple of weeks later, there I am, 2,500 feet out of a 206, static line rounds.
Oh, man.
And, the guy's shouting at me, in the door, go. And I think it took 2 jumps, and I knew that it was my life.
Yeah?
And that's weird, because, like, back then I was playing hockey, like roller hockey, and BMXing and doing silly shit. But I was 18 years old, and I think on my logbook, or my log sheet at the time, didn't have a logbook, was I think I did 8 jumps, and it was on the bottom I'd written, skydive to live to skydive. And I look at that today and it makes me giggle, because here I am 30 years in and I want to do as much as I can every day.
Isn't that crazy? That's quite the history too. I mean, we're not talking about a small amount of jumping. You've been at it for quite some time.
It's a lifestyle.
Wow. So what was it about the sport that drew you in? I mean,
I guess the original few jumps, the terror that begins when you leave, like when you're in the plane, you know, I used to drive to the drop zone. My buddy used to drive me to the drop zone, and I would hope it was too windy. You know, you get that. And then they'd give me the anemometer, you know, and I'd go out and they'd go and check the winds.
Right.
And I'd go and stand out there and I'd stick my hand in the air for 5 minutes and it wouldn't go over 10 knots, which was for the rounds. That was the limit.
Right.
And I'd think, I could just say it was 12, right? But that would disappoint everybody else.
Right.
And so I'd go back and go, so it was 8 knots. And they'd be like, get your kit on. And I think, what have I just done? And it was a real fight within yourself.
Oh,
because
yeah.
you want to do it, but you're terrified of doing it.
Oh, yeah.
And then you get past that point, and you just can't do enough. And
It's a tough battle to get past that, though, isn't it? I mean,
is.
and
a lot of people don't manage it.
I had a place, for the longest time, I had a spot on the freeway where I could turn around, no personal questions to myself asked. If I hit that spot and I wasn't feeling it, I could turn around. I never used it, but I had that spot that I could turn around, and I could go home and not feel ashamed. But if I drove past that point, I was fucking going.
That was it.
It took a long time.
It does. And I can't tell you how many times I think I had a 12-week break around parachutes back in the day. You know, we're looking at the winds over 10, you weren't jumping, and the winds are always over 10, let's be fair. And in the UK especially, it was tough. It was tough on the round parachutes to get to the point where you were actually getting to jump a lot. And so I spent a lot of time drinking, partying, having fun, but I didn't have any money. So I literally just have enough money to jump.
Sure.
Pack a few round parachutes, get a couple of pounds for doing that,
Right.
and then put it back in. And I was getting in debt, and it was just a spiral. But I was so addicted.
And it seems to be an extremely common theme is that skydivers pick the worst fucking time to become skydivers. Like, nobody says, yeah, I had a shitload of money, and I just wanted to go spend some of it and become a skydiver. It's never.
No way.
It's always I was eating fucking ramen and you know, gathering up spare change so I could go make a jump. And nobody started working in the sport because they had a desire to pack parachutes. They wanted to jump.
Yeah.
So,
Well, the old joke was like, how do you make $1 million out of skydiving? It start off with 10 million.
Yeah,
that's
man,
it, right? That's so true. And it's true to this day. People say, how much is it going to cost me? I'm like, everything.
Yeah, what's the old joke? Half your income for the rest of your, or $300 for your first jump and half your income for the rest of your life.
That's it. It's
Pretty
like buying
much.
an Apple product. So,
Right?
yeah.
Get you by the balls.
Yeah.
Well, so you're hooked pretty much right away, but you're fighting that internal battle. I did the exact same thing, but you got past it enough to become an active skydiver, but you're fighting weather, you're fighting money and all that. How did you manage to stay in it for 30 years? What was the next step?
Well, I'm now like in a little bit of debt, and I was 18 when I started. I'm now 20. I've got maybe nearly 100 skydives. So it's taken a little while to get the jumps up. I'm on square parachutes as well. I bought my first parachute. It's a Fury. Actually, it was a Maverick, 200 square foot F111 Maverick. Fantastic. I loved it to pieces. And I thought the job I was doing, I was a painter and decorator, and the job was going downhill. We had a big crash in the UK with the housing market. No one was getting anyone to do any trades. So I joined the Air Force. And I did 14 years in the Air Force, and I literally joined the Air Force to see if I could skydive for free. I didn't join the Air Force because I wanted to be in the military or wanted to serve my country. I wanted to skydive, and
Nice.
I would find any way of doing it. And I ended up going on advanced courses, which is the military sort of 2-week course where you can go along and do some jumps, and it's a personal development course. I kicked the ass out of those. I did a lot of those. We were actually known as the course getters because there's a few of us would always see each other, like Navy guys, Army guys,
Nice.
Air Force guys. My CO pulled me into the office maybe like my first year in the Air Force, and he said, what do you want to do? I said, I want to work at Weston-on-the-Green at the Sport Parachute Centre as the rigger, because I'd gone into the Air Force doing parachute rigging and stuff. And he said, you know, that's probably never going to happen. There's only one slot in the Air Force for that. And I went, it'll happen. And in 96, 95, I got my riggers rating. 99, I was posted to Weston-on-the-Green, and I stayed there for 10 years.
Now, Weston-on-the-Green, I've heard that before. I've never been, but it's a very famous drop zone, yeah?
It was in the UK. It's now only military. It was a civilian drop zone at weekend called RAFSPA, Royal Air Force Sport Parachute Association.
Okay.
And that was just a full-time weekend party skydiving. And we had an Islander, a Cessna, and I didn't stop.
That's awesome. Well, and I'd imagine if for nothing else, just because of weather-wise, is not exactly conducive, like you've already said. So the partying had to get out of control because you got to do something with all that fucking energy.
Yeah, there's been there's been a few, throttle to bottle or bottle to throttle 8 hours here, right? So I'd be sweeping people out the bar at 4 a.m, and I was doing camera now. I wanted to do from pretty much. I think 25 jumps in, I saw the guy doing the most jumps was the guy with the camera. And I thought, that guy's got it. He's got it made. And so as soon as I had 200 jumps, I could put a camera on my head. That was me. I bought the camera. I was going into the electronics store and I was checking out cameras. I had 30, 40 jumps just because
Nice.
I was so besotted with skydiving, and I wanted to do camera to do more skydiving. And as soon as I could get a camera, that was me. 200 jumps. I did my first camera jump.
Awesome.
That was in 1990.
Awesome. All right. Yeah. My first camera jump, I didn't even really plan, to be honest. I was at Paris Valley with a guy by the name of Kevin Love, who I worked with in the off and on in the wind tunnel in Las Vegas. And I had, I want to say 25 jumps at the time. And he had one of those headhunter helmets. You remember those?
I had a headhunter.
Yeah.
It took me about a year and a half to get it, but I had one.
Yeah, so he had one of the headhunter helmets, and he wanted to do a four-way with Lou Sanborn, Juliana C., the guy that owned Flyaway at the time, Gary Spear, and him. And he's like, well, fuck, I want video of this because I'm going to go jump with Lou Sanborn.
Hey, all right.
And I was a tunnel instructor, so I could fly pretty good in free fall, but I sucked under the parachute, 25 fucking jumps. And he said, here you go, put this on. Yeah, it fits okay, fuck it. So you're just going to hit this button. I'll make sure it's rolling. Just stay kind of over top and look at us.
Brilliant.
That was it. First jump.
And that was a great helmet as well. The headhunter.
That's a great
back
helmet.
in the day, first full face helmet, or pretty much one of the early full face helmets.
Yep. What's funny, because I've still got the one that I ended up buying, I'm sure you know as well, was the Pararaptor, which was the one that came out after the side or before the Sidewinder. That was the best damn camera helmet ever, and I still have it. It's the only one I ever owned.
Fantastic.
Yeah, jumped it forever.
Yeah.
So you start shooting video.
Yep, that was 1990. Then when I joined the Air Force, I took a little break, not too long, but I think I did about 2 jumps in 6 months because I was in training.
Oh, wow.
Then when I got posted out to my first Air Force base, I just, every weekend, I would walk, hitch, just get to the drop zone. And,
Whatever you had to do, huh?
Literally, and it is whatever you have to do, right? It doesn't matter what you have to do. You just get there.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter whether it's I've been at the drop zone for a Friday, a Saturday, and a Sunday. And the Sunday afternoon, the wind's dropping limits. You do one skydive, you go home the happiest guy in the world.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's it.
You got to do it. That's it.
I think a lot of people forget that, you lose that feeling where, I haven't done 10 today. And it's like, really?
Yeah.
Come on. We're so spoiled.
Yeah, but we're fucking old in it. So we get to look back in hindsight at a lot of the stupid shit that we were thinking and doing and realize, oh, wait, no.
Oh, yeah. And it's stuff now I look at people and I go, what are you doing? And they're like, oh, I'm doing so-and-so. And I'm like, dude, don't be daft. And I'm thinking, yeah, you did that.
Yeah,
so many
God,
times.
yeah.
Such an idiot.
Oh, for all the times I've tried to correct people and don't do this and don't do that and shaking my head because they're being idiots, I was 10 times the idiot.
Yeah. Getting in the Cessna, he'd rev it up at the end of the runway. He'd pile down the runway about 3 feet off the runway, and we'd go past the fuel pump. There'd be 4 people in the, or 5 people in the Cessna, one kneeling, leaning forwards to the CG, no door, and the guy would nail it up vertical. And he'd get to 400 feet, and as he went over the top, you'd all be like, woo, like you're in the space shuttle. And I look back at that now and think, holy fuck, how did we ever survive that? How did someone not go out the door? How did we even? If someone did that now,
right?
I'd lose my shit.
I know. I know. If I look back at a lot of the shit that we did back then, how in the hell we got through it is beyond me. Yeah. Beyond me. Well, so you managed to spend 12 years in the military just to be able to jump out of airplanes.
Pretty much.
But you'd started shooting video and doing all this, so you make it through your military time, and you eventually transition to being a full-time jumper?
Well, I was... Yeah, every weekend I was skydiving anyway in the military, and then I was very lucky because when we went over to El Centro, California, I used to jump out the C-130 anyway. I was the only guy who wasn't at the parachute school who was cleared to jump, which was pretty cool. So I did a lot of jumps out the C-130.
Nice.
4-way, whatever, it didn't matter. And because I was a civilian jumper, I was just flying around people. It was great fun.
Right.
Because I was in the military, where the best.
Right.
I was just like, yeah, whatever. I can just fly.
Right.
And then... So I'm doing tandems up and I guess 92 to 96 I did tandems, and then I met a guy called Mike Frost who was on the drop zone with a Skysurf board, and he said to me, he said, "Do you want to film me?" And I just looked at it and went, "Yeah, sure." And I went out the door and with him, and he was used to someone who couldn't stay with him out the door, so he did some funky stuff with his arms and started rocketing away. So we talked about it and I went, "Don't do that. I can film you, just be normal." And we ended up doing 1,000 jumps together.
Wow. Skysurfing was, I suppose it was right around 95, 96. It started to become all the rage.
Yeah, well, it was already going when he was already doing it, and I was doing the tandem stuff. And I'd learned a little bit about camera. You know what it's like. You can go out in any position and still keep stuff in focus. That's the camera roll. It teaches you a huge amount. And we're not talking GoPros, we're talking proper top mount cameras and stills cameras.
Proper massive
old
top
style.
mount.
Yeah, and I just flew with Mike, and then in '96 he said to me, "Look," he said, we've done maybe 40 jumps together. I want to go to Paris Valley for the SSI Pro Tour tryouts.
Yeah.
And I was like, "What is it?" He said, "It's the ESPN Pro Tour. If we can get through I think it was 2 jumps. If we get through the 2 jumps on the tryouts, we enter into the competition." A bit like F1, you gain your points, then you go to the X Games. And I was like, "Yeah, I'm good, I'm up for it." And he was like, "Well, we've got this sponsorship and that sponsorship." And we were super lucky, man. We're sponsored by PlayStation, sponsored by Converse trainers. We had a little bit of assistance. And the Air Force were good too, man, because I was competing for the UK kind of thing.
Right.
I might have fudged that a little bit, but I'm competing for the UK, so they gave me time off. 96 Paris Valley. I'm looking around. There's Patrick de Gaildon, and there's these guys. I'm just looking around. Troy Hartman and just different teams, and I'm like seeing these guys on video, and there I am sat at the pool having a briefing for a competition with them.
Oh yeah, I mean you got at the time you had Vic and Troy. They won. Which year did they win?
Vic I think won 97. There was Bob Greiner.
Was it 97 or 96?
Might be 96 because Bob Greiner won 97 with Cliff Birch. And
because Vic passed away in 97.
So, they won 96. And I'm just totally out of my depth. I'm sat next to Olav Zipser on the aeroplane, and I've got the Chronicles Free Fly videos. And there's this guy sat next to me, and he's doing his cutaway up in his, and he's got a pair of jeans on. I've got a jumpsuit. He's got a pair of jeans on. He's putting himself in the Skysurf board. And he stands up, and his board cuts away the bindings because his cutaway's going out the top of his jeans above his belt. And for those that don't know, describe real quick the cutaway system for a Skysurf board. You have the same as if you have like a kite board. You have or a windsurf board. You have foot bindings, and to get out of the foot bindings, because they literally tie you into the board. You have like a 3-ring circus on the foot bindings, and you can pull a cable which comes up through each leg to a central point. You pull that and it pops both bindings, and you can get rid of the board. If you're in trouble, you pop the board, and it will just float down and you pick it up. And so every time he stood up, he would pop the cutaway because it wasn't quite long enough. And I'm looking at this guy and I'm like, dude, we're nearly on running now, and I'm laughing because it's funny, but I'm also so nervous as well. I'm shitting myself. This is such a big arena for me to be in. Sure. And Mike's there with his crazy dreadlocks and his sunglasses wrapped around his head, and I'm like, this is such a surreal scene now looking back. And so Olav just undid his zip fly and popped the cutaway out the zip fly, so it was like 3 or 4 inches lower, and got out and cracked on. Yeah, that sounds about right. That's about the same time I met him a couple of years later in '98 when my Skysurf partner and myself were competing in the Nationals, and I was blown away by him because it was the same thing. I had grown up in the sport to see him in Chronicles and these iconic videos to anybody that's watched any of those. This is back when free flying was basically just being born, and they were doing shit that just was unreal. Insane. And I remember meeting Omar was at the drop zone at the time because he was competing in freestyle, and so all these people are there. And I remember meeting Olav, and he wanted nothing to do with me. This is back when Olav knew he was Olav. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I remember walking away a little bit bummed, but then I met Omar, who completely changed that. He was completely opposite. Fucking sweetheart. Yeah. To cut a long story short, meeting Olav years and years later, he's the biggest sweetheart ever. Yeah.
So nice change.
Yeah, and I think it was just, and I've met Olav on various occasions, and he's lovely.
Oh, yeah.
But I think at the time he was cresting that wave, you know.
He was
like,
that's when he was Olav.
I am free fly.
Yeah.
I am free fly.
Oh, and he was.
And yeah, there's no doubt about it. He did some incredible things to push the sport forward.
That was kind of the thing is although it was a bit of a bruise to my ego, he deserved every bit of ego he had at the time. I mean, holy shit, the guy was doing shit that people didn't think was possible.
Yeah.
This is not very long after people thought it was amazing if you could pass a baton in fucking free fall.
Yeah,
and
just a
now,
few years, right?
Yeah, and
Crazy.
he's playing catch upside down with a lead-weighted tennis ball.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. I mean, I still see stuff on some of them Chronicle videos now that I think, dude, I know people that would struggle to do that. And that think they're good free flies. You know, there was some angle stuff in that where they all had the same T-shirt on. I can't remember the company that sponsored them, but they are all, and you can just see him waving people into slot. Just like, you come forward. Brilliant.
It was such next level for him.
It's incredible. And it still is. I've got him on VHS now, and I tell you now, I'd still happily sit through Chronicles 1, 2, or 3.
Oh, God, yeah, they're
The
hilarious.
Sublime soundtrack, which then completely turned me on to Sublime. I loved them.
Yeah, me too.
And it just blew my mind. Yeah.
The one clip in Chronicles to a Sublime song was the Mississippi song, and it's Olaf's over in the distance on his head, and he runs.
Yeah.
Upside down to the camera, does 2 or 3 cartwheels, turns around and runs away. Yeah. And I remembered watching that over and over and over again going, holy shit. Yeah. And at the time, the Sublime music was not my style music. And as soon as I finished with that, it totally was.
I did the same thing. I bought mini discs. I bought them on mini disc. Wicked. And Mike Vale. Yep. Mike Vale was flying with Olav, Charles Bryan, and those guys were insane.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
You know what? They set the benchmark and without tunnels. That's the insane thing. When you look at it and you go, well, these guys didn't train anywhere but in the sky.
45 seconds at a time.
Boom.
Yeah.
There you go.
Insane. Well, and I told the story when I sat and I had Craig Gerard over, and we were talking about the Vegas tunnel, because that's the tunnel I worked in. And there were only 3 tunnels at the time: Fort Bragg, Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, and Vegas.
Yep.
And they were all just for play. Big old balloon suits, 120 miles an hour of mushy wind, and but you'd learn how to fly the shit out of those suits. Yeah. And my partner and I would go down to Paris Valley all the time to train because we needed the auto for skysurfing. But then, of course, we'd go back to Vegas. And we ended up becoming somewhat friends with the Flyboys at the time, Eli Fritz and the guys. And they all came down to Vegas to fly the tunnel. And it was the funniest fucking thing in the world because, again, I'd watch the Flyboys on these Chronicles videos doing the most amazing things. Yeah. But then they got into
head-down helicopter spin.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that Eli would do for days.
Yeah.
But they got in the tunnel, and it was just disaster. It was wonderful. You know, because I'm watching these guys just flailing everywhere.
Dude, I've been in that Vegas tunnel. And I had some tunnel hours, and I got in there, and it's like an American football helmet with the grid at the front. And
amazing.
You got a suit, which isn't even around the cuff. It's like a wizard sleeve. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, this is a bit strange. My girl and I were in Vegas anyway, so we just popped in. And yeah, we flew. And it was a humbling experience. And when you see people that were flying up and jump, you had to bounce off the wall, really, to just keep jumping in and out of the airflow. And I could backfly in it, and I could flip to front, and the guy's like, yeah. And I'm looking at the guy driving, I'm tapping my head, like, top it out. And he's like, yeah, bro, it's topped out.
Yep. That's all you got.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh, the end of the day would roll around, and we'd open the doors, turn the fan to max with nobody in the control room, and literally fly until your arms you couldn't hold your arms up anymore. Fantastic. It was fantastic. So you're doing the Skysurfing stuff, and you're pushing to try and get yourself into the X Games against, the best.
Wow. Yeah, you know. Just that it's the list now. It just sounds like you're naming names, right? You got so you had Damien Herdliger, who was flying from Paris. You had Tanya Garcia, who was now Tanya O'Brien, and then you had Team Pulse from Switzerland, which was never come to me, and Eric Fordy.
Yeah,
French guy.
Yeah,
he did 2,000 jumps a year. He was an animal. He could wrench the board around in any direction, doing anything. Vivian Vigrath, who was the Swiss girl from Movenpick. They were sponsored by Movenpick, and it was just insane. And we accrued enough points over 4 different Pro Tours: Switzerland, Germany, Titusville in Florida, Paris, and we accrued enough points to go to the '98 X Games, which was Oceanside, California. Air to ground. They got Brian Birkin from Arizona to be the safety guy, as always, because he's the man. We had a CASA to 212. That's us.
I remember watching it.
We had round and a round. We did. I think it was might have been one team out at a time. Valery Rozov, the Russian guy, was ripping it at the time, and went on to do amazing things. And yeah, I just remember like there was a rope at the back with 2 knots on, hang off the back.
Right.
The Flyboys had already done their thing, even though they weren't in the X Games. They were like a tryout discipline. And you had a air to ground thing on your helmet instead of a camera on the front, and then you'd have your movie camera on the top. So I had 2 PC7 sat on the top, so I got the footage, and one of them was plugged into this air to ground, and they fired it down to a big jumbotron screen for, not the biggest crowd in the world on the beach, but it didn't matter. It was the best demo in the world, right?
Of course.
And then you'd end up swooping in on the beach. We had matching PlayStation canopies. I mean, I still got Melanie Kanatsa at the time came down and she took a picture of us flying over the top of like the edge of the crowd line, and I've still got that picture at home, like on a 10x8 that she snapped from underneath as I just lifted my legs up to swoop the crowd line.
How cool is that?
Oh, dude, it's just
It was a totally different time in skydiving for sure.
Totally.
What do you think?
Tunnels, that's what changed it all, right?
Oh God, yeah. Well, and everybody says the same thing. Tunnels have become the great equalizer and the great change for skydiving.
Yeah.
What do you think the downfall of skysurfing was? Because it went from being the potential huge segue into the general public is going to get to know skydiving through skysurfing, and they did to some degree. I certainly took notice of skydiving.
Everyone used to come to the drop zone and go, right, well, why you started skydiving? I want to be a skysurfer. I want to be a skysurfer.
Sure.
And I think a couple of things happened. I think it was, as you know now, everything is instant, right? If you don't know the answer to the question, you Google it, boom, and that's it. Everyone's a genius because of Google. Everyone's got everything instantly. AFF means you're an instant skydiver over a weekend. The tunnel means you're an instantly good skydiver if you put enough money into it.
Right.
Skysurfing is a long route in. And that's it. You can't fake. You can't get there by any other means. There's even a wingsuit tunnel now, right? So there is no skysurf short route. And it got more difficult because of the moves that were being done. There was some insane stuff being done. The spins, like we talk about the speed of some of the moves that were being done, which were literally pooling the blood in people's hands, and they were getting bloodshot eyes from spinning so fast. And I think people just found it too difficult to get to a level where they could compete. And so they went into head-up flying, which was, at the time, sit flying. That was the easiest route. And it was fun. And you could do it with your mates, and you could do it fairly quickly because there wasn't a lot of rules. And the skysurfing our nationals in the UK went from a fairly like 7 people down to 5, down to you turn up, you get a medal. And at that point, and then the world level did the same. Like there was less and less people coming to do the world level, and they went, well, this is not working anymore.
Well, was it? We talked about it before. Was it Sean McCormick that came up with the Invisible Man?
Yeah. 97. That was down in Titusville. We competed against Sean in the tryouts to get into the to get into the Pro Tour in 96 at Paris. We got to Titusville in 97. He'd been picked up as a sponsored athlete, done 700 jumps.
Right.
And straight out the box, he's standing on the board in a red and white jumpsuit. And I remember watching it on the screen because they showed it like as you downloaded.
Right.
And this guy spun so hard standing on the board that he blurred. And literally you couldn't tell the red from the white, and it just became an incredible blur on the screen. And it was called the Invisible Man because he started to disappear. Yeah. However, doing that, as you came out of it, hands out to slow down, and all the blood gets shot out to the extremities. And suddenly this guy's hands looks like, big flubber hands, and it becomes difficult to pull. Yeah. And all these crazy things are going on. I mean, my Skysurf partner, Mike, pretty much was like, we saw this in training as well. And we was like, well, we can try that. And within 3 jumps, he's got bloodshot eyes. And I mean scary bloodshot eyes. And I'm looking at him going, dude, we need to stop this.
It got to the point where my partner and I kind of were the same thing. Beside the fact that by the time we got into it, the field of skysurfing had backed down so much. And they were still separating male and female. Yeah,
which is ridiculous because there's not enough people to fill both categories.
No, it was totally ridiculous. Yeah. Well, and so we showed up at the 98 Nationals in the intermediate. That's all we were going to do. We were going to go compete in intermediate. And we get there, and they're doing the big briefing the day before the competition's supposed to start, and all the competitors are there, and they're announcing who's in what, and it was Mary and I in intermediate.
That was it.
Period.
Yeah.
And then they announced for the open category as Craig and Tanya. And that's it. And I'm looking at Mary, and she's looking at me, and both of us are like, fuck this. And
step up.
So Mary held up her hand, and she's like, can we compete in open?
Yeah.
Because and she and I were of the same mind in that I would rather fucking get a silver medal for losing to someone than get a gold for, winning by myself. Fuck that. Yeah. And what that ended up being was because there was no doubt Craig and Tanya were so much better than us that for us, it just became a weekend of fun jumping with two amazing sky surfers that were teaching us shit.
Yeah.
And that's that they're that much better than you when they're teaching you how to do better during
and both of them,
nationals.
I mean, it's not that sort of competition where no one talks to each other and no one's like, it's not this 4-1-8 where everyone's just in their own zone.
Yeah.
Both Craig and Tanya, the way they are just so magnanimous.
Oh,
they're
absolutely.
super helpful.
No.
And if they see something that they can help you with, they will. Craig was already an amazing camera flyer in his own right, doing his own thing. And Tanya had already competed with another cameraman. And so she built up a great repertoire of moves. And when they got together, it was perfect. Great synergy.
Oh, no, it was phenomenal. It was a great learning experience for us and just all around fun. And it took all the weight off. I mean, they knew they were going to destroy us. There was no doubt about that.
That as well,
Yeah, so it was just flat out fun. But then the field started to get smaller and smaller. And then the moves like the Invisible Man came out and both of us were like, yeah, no, that was fun.
Yeah.
We'll take our silver medal. Thank you.
And that's it. Some of that inverted stuff. It's a super challenge for a camera flyer. I mean, you're doing stuff that's doing 100 miles an hour, and then you're doing stuff that's doing 160 miles an hour. And the transition between those two moves is 1 second, 1 or 2 seconds. And it's, as a camera flyer, it's the most challenging thing I've ever filmed.
Well, you're using every bit of your max range.
In both ends
directions.
of that, and that's the thing.
Yeah.
I used to jump with wings from wrist to hip.
Yeah, me too.
But also a nylon fronted jumpsuit where I could bring everything in and I could go as fast as possible. And it was more about how we put moves together than the actual moves themselves. Because that was where, for me, it all became. I think that's where we did well. Was you would go from this move to this move to this move, and it was the grouting between the tiles.
Sure.
If I'm,
it's that transition.
Absolutely, because you can do a good move, but if you can't get it into the next move, it looks shit.
Yeah, well, and I don't know really what your style was. Mine was generally all belly and back. I was not free flying, and a lot of the people weren't quite there yet. I mean, there were a few that were doing a lot of the free flying stuff, and I know Olav was trying to do shit like that as well.
Yeah, well, Olav and Charles, they just go off. Both of them in their own sort of genre would go off so crazy that I didn't know what was going on when I watched the video.
Right.
It was just going off in front of us. Christian Schmidt, German guy, used to film Oliver Fuhrer. That was Team Pulse.
Right.
Christian used to wear a super heavyweight baggy jumpsuit, no wings, but he could fly with Oliver. But pretty much most other flyers were wearing wings, and it's super difficult to free fly with big wings. You only need one to catch the air, and suddenly, boom, there you go, off you go. It was a fun. It was a fun. Time. I would say 96, 97, 98. Out of 30 years skydiving, still rank right up there with my most fun years. And I've done some cool stuff, but that is an amazing. I look back to that and it still just makes me grin.
Oh, of course. Well, and I've always found the funny thing too, especially after when I'm almost 24 years in as well, and people don't even know me as a jumper very much. Maybe they'll see me do hop and pops and stuff, but for the most part, I'm sitting in the front of the plane.
Exactly.
And there's a shitload of jumpers out there that don't know I skydive at all. And so then they hear the stories that I got 11,000 jumps and a silver medal and this and that and what?
Yeah, I know. Well, that's it. Because I know guys that I did this and that back in the day and blah blah blah, and it's so easy because 4 or 5 magazines come out and you're not on the front cover and you're the next thing. Yeah. That's it. It's moved on, and it's just it moves on so quickly at such a pace. There's always something new, and I think for me, I got out the Skysurfing. And I'd already done camera for tandem, and I kind of went back and did that for a while because the money was good.
Right.
But it was always looking for the next. What is the next part of this sport which can challenge me? Not that I had beaten that part, but you just got to stay fresh and do new stuff. And this sport never stops giving.
No. And it never stops challenging you as long as you're looking for that challenge.
That's it. You get bored in this sport, you are not looking hard enough.
No, not at all. And I mean, I took a good break from jumping for quite a while, and I've told the story before. I got back into it when a friend asked me to jump after a 4-year break, and the idea of jumping made me nervous. And I went, oh shit, it's time to jump again.
That's good, right?
Yeah, let's get back in the air because I got the butterflies. That little bit of fear is back again, which is nice.
But people still say, do you get scared? And it's like, well, not day to day, but if you haven't done something for a while, you are back in the in the seat.
Oh man, I'm shit. I think I've been down for maybe a month and a half. I've just been too busy to make it out and jump. And I guarantee the next time I put my rig on, I'm gonna have. Yeah, absolutely. It's gonna be bumping a little bit.
Rates up there.
Shit, yes, and it should be. I mean, come on. Skydiving is we can make it relatively safe. It's still a fucking dangerous sport.
Yeah, it is.
We're jumping out of airplanes. Yeah. You're trusting your life to nylon and strings and good decisions.
Well, the last one is the one, right? Because technology's moved on at such a pace. Everything is so good. You know? It's rare that you have, if you weren't jumping a super high performance canopy and you weren't pushing your limits on the equipment side, it's rare you're ever going to have a problem.
Yeah.
You know, you do 10, 20,000 jumps on something like a Spectre 135. I can't imagine if you keep your kit in good condition how you'd ever have a problem.
Well, I used to say to all my students, the best way to solve problems in the air is to fix them on the ground.
That's it.
A good pre-flight of your gear, paying attention when you're packing, not being a bit of an ass clown, and just realizing that
the skydive doesn't start when you're getting out the door, right?
No, hell no. It starts on your drive to the damn drop zone, if not before. The decisions you made the night before. Did you get a good night's sleep? Did you have too much to drink or something else? You know, come on.
But that's the same as a lot of sports. That's the same as flying, I'm sure, because I'm not a pilot, but that's the same as flying. You know, how you feel affects your day. When you start your day, whether you start your day positive or you don't have a good sleep or you've had a couple of beers, even if it's a couple of nights before. I'm not so good with the beers now.
Right.
It happens. And so, you feel jet lag or anything of those things. And that is the first issue on that tick list of why an incident comes. That's
sure.
it.
Well, and you and I are getting older, so all those things affect us a little bit.
It does.
A little harder.
Yep.
It's again, I've said that before. I still feel mentally like I'm 18 most days, but physically,
I have to tell my body that sometimes.
Oh man, yeah. In the morning, I am my age getting out of bed. Holy shit, I feel it in the morning, and usually after a good 5-6 hours in the seat flying all day. Oh yeah, I feel it. I feel it. So you transition out of skysurfing.
Yeah, I wanted to stay in camera. I love camera. It's still. I don't actually fly camera now because I guess 5,000 camera jumps. It wore me out a little.
I like having a neck that still turns.
Exactly, and a lot of those camera jumps were with big cameras and big stills cameras with big lenses and flash guns.
Sure.
I'm jumping like 20 pound a kit, and I've done 3,000 plus jumps, and we're not talking GoPros. That's another thousands and thousands of jumps. But we're talking big cameras.
There's a lot of jumpers out there that don't have any fucking clue what we're talking about. If you tried to describe it along the lines of a VHS tape, they still wouldn't know what the fuck you were talking about.
You pick up a decent Canon camera and you put a lens on, and they'll pick up another one, and now pick up a flash gun and the cables and the batteries, and you hold that in your hands and go, well, that's fairly solid.
Oh, yeah.
Go, now put it on your head and do 1,000 jumps or 4,000 jumps. That's why I don't do day-to-day camera now. However, it's still my passion. I will put just a stills camera on. I wish I'd done this a long time ago. I've shot video for years. I went into four-way video. I filmed the female four-way team, VMAX at the time. I was asked to do that because their cameraman kind of retired after they'd won a couple of world meets. We won a world meet in 2003.
Nice.
So we beat the Norwegians by a couple of points over 10 rounds, which was good. So that was my first world meet. My first world meet with four-way. I did the 97 World Air Games with Skysurf with Mike. And four-way in 2003. Won the World Championship, which was awesome. I also got free lifetime membership to the Parachute Association in the UK.
Nice.
That saved me a couple of grand since. Which at the time I was like, oh, that's nice. And now I'm like,
yeah,
winner. Hindsight. And it was always camera-based, camera-oriented. And then around 99, I'm doing tandem camera, finishing with the Skysurfing, and the wingsuit came out. And I filmed the British 100-way record.
Cool.
And my buddy had his wingsuit with him, and it's the Birdman Classic 1-zip.
That's
the one where you had to basically roll around on the floor like a beetle stuck on its back to get in it, and the zip started like above the belt line, and it was a pain to get in. But it was the first wingsuit, and I had mine in the post, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm going to jump it next week." I'm like, "Max, that's awesome," and I arrived because I worked on the drop zone with the military all week. Mine arrived on the Monday or Tuesday morning. I jumped it on the Wednesday out the Sky van. And I spoke to him, and he was cursing me because he thought he was going to be the first one to jump it. My CI, my chief instructor, phoned the British Parachute Association and was like, I got this wingsuit. This guy wants to jump it. What do I do? And they were like, well, who is it? So that's Fordy. He went, all right. Phone me, tell me he hasn't died. And that was pretty much it. And I remember getting off we went out, the Sky van had come in and dropped troops.
Right.
And the guy, superb guy, this pilot turned around and he said to the staff at the centre, he went, you guys want to jump while I just fly back to the airfield, to the airfield they house the Sky van. He said, you guys want to get out? I'll take you to the top. Cheers, Dave. So we get on, there's a four-way, myself and one of my best friends. He's wearing my camera suit with the big wings, thinking, yeah, you got a wingsuit, I got camera wings, I'll film you.
Right.
I was like, and I get on the ramp, give him a low five because I can't lift my arms very high. My heart rate's right through the roof. Took a deep breath, and I dropped off the ramp, and I watched him disappear, and I watched him fall away from me. And I just thought, whoa, look how fast you're going, not thinking, look how slow am I going.
Right.
Until I looked up, and there's four guys with wide eyes waving at me from the ramp, and they are half as close again as this guy. And that was on a Birdman Classic.
Right.
And it captured my imagination. And I just travelled and wingsuited, and I taught other people to wingsuit. I helped write the guidelines for wingsuiting in the UK, and I just wanted it done. I'm a safety freak. I love stuff being done safely.
Sure.
Because I've seen too much stuff go wrong, right?
You
and so it's just easier to avoid it with a little bit of common sense.
Sure.
And I've got like 1,600 wingsuit jumps now. Took a little break in the middle of the 2000s, maybe 2006, 7, 8. And I think at that point there were so many different type of wingsuits. It was like canopies. They were going in so many different genres and directions. I was like, oh, dude, I can't. You're trying to get people with this, flying with people with that, and it just wasn't working for me. So I opted out for a little while and did other stuff, but instructional ratings and stuff. But yeah, literally, I did a wingsuit jump today, and it never ceases to make me smile.
Nice. Now, so how many jumps did you have when you made your first wingsuit jump, roughly?
I guess, what was that? That was 99. So I must have had 2,000 jumps.
So a good chunk of jumps at the time.
Yeah, 10 times as many as you need now, right?
Oh, God, yeah. And it still got your full and utter attention, scared the shit out of you.
Totally.
And then became just amazing.
I've never checked an altimeter so much on one skydive.
Yeah, how
I'm
many
checking
times?
it and I'm looking at it going, well, that's wrong. And I check it again and go, yeah, that must be wrong.
How many times do those mental alarms go off?
Yeah, and it's crazy because you got that body clock, and it's so used to, I was doing a bit of free flying, I was doing all the other stuff, and suddenly I can fly for 2 minutes. And that's in the first wingsuit. 2 minutes was a good base I could get to, and even the audibles, which would track time at the time, the Pro Track and stuff, they couldn't keep up. The parameters weren't set correctly for wingsuits, so it would go, yeah, we did 8 seconds.
Right.
Because then it thinks you've pulled. And I just go out, and I used to time it off the video, and my thing was trying to fly for as long as possible in this suit. And I could get 2 minutes, 10 seconds. And that was incredible when you think 50 seconds is a normal skydive.
Oh, yeah.
So
It's ridiculous. You're more than doubling it.
Yeah. But now, if you're not doing 2 minutes in a wingsuit now, you're probably not even opening the wings.
All right. Now, have you ever done any base jumping with this kind of stuff?
No, lost my best friend in 1993 base jumping. He went off the Hilton Hotel in the UK, and I was in the military, and I was gagging to base jump. Man, I wanted to do it. It's like, I was a young lad. I had 1993, I had a few hundred skydives then, and I used to jump with him down at my original drop zone, and he was my closest mate. He was going to be my best man at my wedding. I was getting married in 93. He was going to be my best man at my wedding. And I got up one morning, and I won't go too deep into it, but I'm doing arms training for guard duty. So I'm doing this, and I'm like, he's gone and done a couple of jumps, and now because I'm not jumping with him off the basic stuff, he's already gone and done some stuff. And he did about 5 base jumps. And for whatever reason, the guy took him off to the Hilton Hotel. For me, now I look back on that and I think, what were you doing? And we used to have a thing called CFAX. You'd look on the TV in the morning and it would have just a scrolling list of news stories that were just written like a newspaper on TV.
Sure.
And I'm watching it and I'm getting dressed and I put my DPM uniform on and I'm looking out and I'm looking at this thing that says Hilton base jumper dives off London Hilton. And I froze and I knew. And I literally opened the window to my bedroom, ran out to the payphone across, no mobiles, ran out to the payphone across the way, phoned my fiance up at the time, and she'd gone to work already, but her housemate, she just went, dude, I'm sorry, it's Darren. Man, that crushed me. And I promised her I'd never base jump. And even though there's been I've done ground crew photography. I've done a load of stuff involved in the base world because it's amazing.
Of course.
Some of my friends have ripped it over the years, but I stuck to that. Never put yourself in a situation where you have to back down. That's me.
Sure.
And I just didn't do it. And then wingsuits come out, and I thought, well, hang on, I can do this. Everyone's jumping off Chirag in Norway, and they're flying away from the cliffs.
Right.
And I thought, yeah, I'm doing this. And then everyone stopped flying away from the cliffs.
And down it.
So I fly down the cliffs. And I've, at the end of the day, I've lost more people. I wouldn't say always close friends. I've lost more people that I've met and known had a beer with in the last 10 years than I did in the first 20. And that's insane.
I'm exactly the same way, and it's the same for me as well. It's if I had to sit and list all the people I know, not necessarily friends, but that I've met at somewhere along the lines, the list would just be too fucking long, and it's already way too long. Just if you're talking about casual friends and then people you would consider proper friends, the list is already too fucking long. So, and my decision wasn't because I lost somebody; it's because I had a kid. That was it. I'm like, no, with base jumping, it's not if you fuck yourself up, it's when and how bad. The same mentality with motorcycles and all that kind of stuff. But
I ride bikes now, and my buddy who base jumped, and I think he did something like 800 base jumps. And when he had his daughter, he said, I'm done. Yeah. He did the mushroom off the Eiger, and that was his last base jump. He got down to the bottom, and he turned around to his buddies and went, that's me done. And they were like, what? You retired? And he went, yeah, I'm done. I've done 800 base jumps, and I'd filmed him. I'd been down to France to film him and stuff and take pictures for him. And that was him done. And I had the utmost respect for him to do that. And I notice now, and the stuff you were talking about with Junior, when there's a moment in your life where you think, I am going to step back from this because the risk versus reward is just not enough.
It's not there anymore.
That's it.
It's just not there anymore. Well, and for me, I was lucky that the reward, I never thought it was there. It was never worth the level of risk that was going to be put out. And I knew I was going to enjoy the hell out of it, which meant that I knew myself I was going to push it even further. Yeah. And keep going and going and going. And now I have enough fun jumping out of airplanes and flying them and all that.
But as a rigger, I have the utmost respect for the equipment. I look at the equipment and it's amazing. God, you guys are pushing the envelope with equipment. It's amazing. Harnesses, pilot chutes, the way they've come on, and the canopies themselves. I mean, it's incredible. Oh, yeah. And I love the equipment. I'm a proper geek when it comes to the equipment. It's just not for me.
Well, and I had the chance to talk to Matt and Mike from Squirrel. Yep. And they actually wouldn't tell me shit about the equipment because they're like, no, that's fucking boring. Go to the website.
Yeah.
Which is proper, but I'm blown away by the technology.
The stuff they're doing is incredible.
They turn people into little engineless jet fighters. It's and especially with their background, because they don't come from the background that you would think someone would to do what they've done. It's technology, man. It just leaps and bounds forward from where you and I started. Yeah. I mean, when we were jumping with cameras that were almost as big as your head. And I think it's technology in the sport seems to me, technology in general seems to be both a blessing and a curse. Everything.
GoPros, wind tunnels, you name it. It's got two sides.
WhatsApp, all that shit fucks with me so bad. Anything like that. It's just,
Yeah. The thing is, I think when the GoPro first came out and it had the photo mode on it, I was like, oh, you know what? That's it. I'm screwed. Or the digital camera came out. Everyone's going to be a photographer.
Sure.
Actually, I think it's worked in the other way around. People don't understand cameras.
No.
Because they don't have to.
No.
So it's like when the Tesla comes out, and everyone's got one and it's got auto drive, it doesn't matter.
No.
Being a racing driver, actually, it won't make it more difficult. It'll make it easier to become a racing driver because 90% of the population won't be able to drive anyway. And it's the same with the GoPro. You look back, I look at the GoPro now and everyone goes, look at this great photograph. It's like, well, it's a screen grab, bro. Yeah. And it won't blow up bigger than an A4 or whatever. And if you know how to use a camera, it's actually unusual now to find photographers. Sure. There's some people here that that work and they know how to use a lens and change a lens and apertures and stuff. But most people are just like,
they don't have a clue.
What do I do?
And I used to be the same way, even though I started out with my first camera was a 35 millimeter Canon Elan. Yep. With a 15 millimeter Sigma lens, wide angle. That's what everybody was jumping. So I had this massive fucking camera on the front of my helmet, and I had no idea how to use it except in skydiving. That's it.
Yep.
And so I don't know why I ended up deciding to do it, but I'm sitting there in my living room with all this really expensive camera equipment that I have no fucking clue how to use. And finally decided, all right, no, I'm going to try and figure out what the hell's going on. And I was living in Vegas at the time, and I became friends with a guy who's still a lifelong friend of mine named Jim that was working at a camera store at the time and is a high-end photographer. And he kind of took me under his wing and taught me a fair amount. And he's extremely skilled when it came to photography. And I was very lucky in that I had access to a lot of content being in Las Vegas. You have all these amazing places to shoot. And I was also working in a strip club at the time. And every stripper in that place thought that they were going to go be famous. And they all wanted headshots. And they all wanted cool pictures. So Jim loved me because...
Yeah, no shit. Access all areas.
Every 3 or 4 days, I'm showing up with another beautiful girl that wants to go take her top off in Red Rock and take pictures. Yeah, sure, I'm a photographer. No fucking clue. No clue. And Jim had to teach me along the way. And that's the only reason that I ended up learning anything about cameras.
Yeah.
But even now, they've gone so far and above. And
sport mode does it all, right?
Yeah,
but it's nice to be... I mean, my typical... type of photography now, I stay away from the wide angle stuff. If you want to do wide angle, then jump a GoPro. I don't jump a 15mm lens anymore. I do have a beautiful Canon 15mm lens. It sits there in a box. I like the 85mm. I like the profile. I like the portrait shots. I like your long depth of field. And I'm a very selfish photographer, if I'm honest. I will fly. I go to Tesla every year and I fly for the wingsuit boogie. And I will put an 85mm lens on. And I will take one person and everyone else will fade into the background, but the background is, with that depth of field, is pulled right into the lens. Sure. And that one guy out of a 20 way will be like, oh my God, it's the best picture I've ever seen. And everyone else like, yeah, I'm out of focus, man. And I don't take it for them. I take it for me.
Right.
And and then someone else will be in focus, or I'll get 2 or 3 people in focus, and everything else is really soft and crushed into the depth of field in the background. But it's funny because people are so used to everyone's in focus, it's sharp forever, and everyone wants to buy the shot. It works if you're on a flat formation. If you're above a formation where everyone is on the same horizontal plane, it works because everyone's at the same focal distance. Sure. But as soon as you have stuff like wingsuits, which is more of a cloud of people, there's a lot of disappointed people if they're looking for photos with me.
Well, but hey, come on. I mean,
I'm honest with them to start with.
Yeah. Well, you're out there doing it for both you and them, and so you're gonna have one lucky fucker with an amazing picture.
Absolutely,
which is cool. Yeah. So you do all this military stuff. You're not in the military anymore. So when did you walk away from the military?
2004.
So 2004 out of the military.
So
and
1990 to 2004. And then I stayed at that drop zone as a civilian contractor for rigging. And I ran their rigging room until 2009. I switched drop zones by that time because the civilian drop zone ended. So I wasn't there at weekends anymore. I jumped to another drop zone, chuck and drogues, doing AFF. And I still currently run my own company in the UK, doing AFF and tandem. And then filming for movies, if I can film, I've done a lot of filming. So I've done, since 1993, I've done stuff that's been paid. And so I've done a lot of filming. Anything that comes along that keeps me in the air, if I'm honest, Dean. It's not about what particular thing I want to do. I will do anything that gets me out of an aeroplane.
Isn't that nice?
It's the best, right?
Well, and it's a very cool thing. I remember talking to family members at some point, and of course, when you pick something like skydiving as a, quote, career, they get a bit nervous. Of course. My family might have been a little bit different because I quit being a stripper to jump out of airplanes. So that was a step up in their estimation. But still, not something you would think of as a lifelong career. But here I am, 23 years into it, and you're more than that as well. There's a lot of longevity in the sport, and I explained to them a long time ago that you hit a certain level in skydiving and you're employed for as long as you're able to do the job. Somewhere in the world, I've got a job, chucking drugs, shooting video, flying a jump plane. For you, it's doing rigging and teaching students.
Whatever you need to do to stay in the sport. And now skydiving is to the masses more with the AFF courses and stuff like that. And I know they've been around a long time, but there was a point where it was static line and a lot of people fell away from the sport. And I'm not saying we're keeping people in the sport just because of AFF, but there is a higher retention rate.
Sure.
So the people that I teach to skydive, I'm then helping them with their parachute choices. I'm then selling them parachutes because I'm a dealer for PD and I'm a dealer for Sunpath. And I'm then looking after them when they want to free fly. And then when they got onto wingsuits. And it's just basically you build your own lifelong profile with these people. And I look around, I'm never proud of them when I'm sat on the plane. I'm at the front of the plane next to the pilot. I got a tandem and I'm looking down the plane and I'm going, the AFF instructor was my student.
Sure.
And then the guy in front of him, that guy who's teaching free fly, he was my student. I taught him to free fly, and I taught him AFF.
Yep.
And there's guys I've worked with all over the world where I'm very proud to see that they are active in the sport, because believe me, Dean, I've got in my office a stack of logbooks from people that don't come back.
Sure.
And that's just through money, through family, through whatever. So the guys that stay the course, I'm super proud of them.
Oh, without a doubt. I remember my kind of my reality check with that moment was when I shot video for a tandem instructor, and he was my tandem instructor on my very first jump. And next thing you know, I'm out in front of him shooting video. And then a couple of years later, I'm taking a friend of his on a tandem, and he's jumping with me, and I'm hanging under the drogue with someone else's buddy. And holy shit, that fucking guy taught me how to skydive.
That's incredible, huh?
Yeah. And then all these years later, I've got quite a few of my students that have gone on to become instructors and do all these really cool things. And you look back and go, holy shit, it's very cool that I played even a small part in this kind of stuff.
It kind of makes you feel like you haven't wasted your time, because skydiving at the end of the day is a recreational sport.
Sure.
I'm not changing the world.
No.
I'm not. I haven't invented penicillin.
No.
So at the end of the day, I'm just chucking people out of planes or taking people out of planes. But when you see other people having fun, you're like, I am adding to someone's life in a positive way.
Oh,
and
yeah.
that's it. Whether it be a tandem, whether it be an AFF, whatever. And the guys that shoot video, that give amazing products, they're making people happy, and that's amazing.
I fucking did not want to be a tandem instructor.
And I'm exactly the same.
Oh, yeah.
AFF 2 years before tandem, I wasn't interested.
Yeah, no. I had filmed enough tandems to realize just how fucking hard it was and how miserable it was going to be. And I went, no, there's no fucking way. But I got forced into it. And it was, you're going to become a tandem instructor or you're unemployed. All right. Well, I guess
was much the same.
Yeah. And ended up becoming a tandem instructor. But all these years later, if you ask me what my favorite way to jump is, for me personally, it's taking tandems.
Yeah.
Because that 1% at a time, you're doing this ridiculously amazing thing with somebody. You're giving them an experience that they would never have otherwise, and in your own unique way. And you're learning how to read people in an amazing way. Oh my God, I've learned more about the human psyche and what it takes to get someone to do something they absolutely do not want to do at that moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, you paid for the tandem, but they're at the door and they do not want to go. And you have to learn people really well. And then to get them through that and to land to the ground, and you've just given this person this amazing experience. And how can you not see them walking away and go, oh, yeah, fuck yeah, I'm a badass. I did that.
And it's ego. But you know what?
Sure it is.
There's nothing better. I took a lady today, a Dutch lady, and she was like, I'm super nervous. And I'm like, yep, don't worry, everyone is. And when the first tandem went out, she just turned her head to the side. She went, I can't do this. And I said, you can do this. I said, we are a team. And we're going to have a fantastic adventure. I said, just keep your head up and let's do it. And I could hear her giggling in freefall.
Isn't that amazing?
And she's giving it the hearts and the waving and the kisses. And I'm smiling because I know that she's found that moment as we go out the door where it goes from terrifying to beautiful and freedom. And she said to me under canopy, she went, I'm so proud of myself.
And she should be.
Every time you get under canopy and someone's like, it's beautiful, you just think, I love this job.
Oh, yeah. No.
What could you not love?
And I mean, people say I have the best job over a whole bunch of different things. And it's a very subjective thing, but I'm convinced we have some of the best jobs.
And people tell you that every day. Like, you're the best job in the world. You're so lucky. I'm like, it was 20 years of hard work and it's so lucky.
Yeah, right? Oh, yeah.
I fell into it.
Well, that being said, we bust our fucking asses. I mean, we make it sound like it's just all happy days. And
yeah, it's not all shits and giggles.
No, man, it's a whole lot of hard work.
Yeah. And physically.
Oh.
There's no doubt about it. 14,000 skydives. I'm 49 next week.
Yeah.
And I think I'm conditioned to doing what I do.
Sure.
If I take time off, I tell you what, that's the worst thing. You take time off and you don't jump for a week, suddenly you feel it.
Oh,
whereas if you're doing it every day, I don't know how the body works like that, but you'd expect that you do it every day and you'd be hurting every day. But actually, I find if I don't skydive and I don't skydive hard, I'm like, God, that didn't hurt last week. I haven't even done anything to make that hurt, right? And suddenly and I see all these kids stretching every day. They're like, got to stretch there and I got to do this. And I think, I wish I'd done that 20 years ago.
You and me.
Wish
both.
I just had the brains to do that.
Nope,
you know?
I'd show up cold at the drop zone.
Me too.
Have a cup of fucking coffee, toss on a rig, and go bang out. God knows
Go to
how many
15,000 RPM straight off the bat.
Oh yeah, without a single
With the coldest
stretch.
engine in the world. Yeah.
Yeah. And now I'm the old guy in the back of the yoga studio that's grunting through every fucking pose.
I used to watch the airspeed guys in Arizona. I used to take students to Arizona to free fly. I'd have 2 students. We'd do lift 1, 2 with 1 student and then 2 with a second, and I'd back to back. After 4 jumps or 8 jumps, we'd have, so they did 4 jumps each. We'd have a 20-minute, have a talk, repeat stuff.
Sure.
And I used to do 16 jumps a day. They'd do 8 jumps a day.
Sure.
And I'd do that for 10 days.
Oh, yeah.
And then I'd take a day off, and then I'd have another 2 students come in, and I'd do the same again. I'm doing 300 jumps in 3 weeks, right? And that, I now look back at that now and think, I couldn't do that now. And even the locals, like there's Travis and stuff, and they're like, dude, you push hard. I'm sleeping on the plane home. And that's about it.
Yep.
It wasn't until I was on the plane home that I went, oh, yeah, that hurts.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, no, there's no doubt. But when I was in Cross Keys, we were going hard during the season. Of course, it's feast or famine, so you get as much in as you possibly can. And you were pissed off if you weren't doing 100 jumps a week.
Yeah.
How the fuck I did that for 2.5 years? You know,
That's an insane amount of jumps, right?
It really is 100 jumps a week, and we have no idea what the long-term effects of that to your body are. Holy shit.
I got a good idea, but yeah,
I'm
it's
getting
positive.
It. I'm getting it. We're the litmus test for
Yeah,
exactly how fucking bad it can get.
Yeah.
And it's, I wish. I remember I was in Arizona, as a matter of fact. I'd taken a friend out to get her AFF, and Arizona wouldn't let me jump to shoot video. Because it was, what's his name's video concession. He's like, nope, I don't give a fuck. If she wants video of her jump, she can pay for it. So I sat on the ground while she did her jumps, and I remember seeing Sean McCormick leading a little bit of a yoga class in the morning in the hangar. And I remember walking past him going, what is this fucking hippie bullshit? And now I wish I could go back.
I did the same with airspeed. They used to get everyone together and they do their circle and they do their stuff, and I'd be like, fuck that, I'm having a coffee.
Yeah.
And I now wish I'd sneaked into that circle.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
I mean, you know.
Oh, I'm 10 surgeries in now, and I guarantee probably 7 of them I could have avoided if I'd have just fucking stretched. If I can give anybody listening advice, stretch. Be stretching right fucking now.
Exactly. Yeah, listen to put your earbuds in and do your yoga. Don't do it publicly outside on Instagram. Just do your yoga for yourself, not for everyone else.
Yeah, no shit. It's not always about the fucking selfie.
Yeah, exactly.
It really isn't.
But yeah, it's all good, bro.
So 30 years now you've been jumping?
Yeah, 88 to, it's now coming up 31,
31
right?
years. So 31 years into it, and you're still going like a bat out of hell. What's your advice for somebody just getting started, or somebody that's hit the wall and they're thinking it's time to hang it up?
Well, I know people at both ends of that scale. If you're starting, it's a lifetime, right? It's not something you need to pack into a year. And if you try and pack it into a year, you're going to hurt yourself and have to stop. So don't pack it into a year. Pack it into a lifetime. But do as much as you can over, get good at something before you move on. Don't be that guy that's done his AFF and he's done his formation stuff and now he wants to free fly and he's head up and he's actually head down and now he's in the tunnel and now he's tracking and they go, how many jumps you got, bro? And he goes 110. Whoa, you must be good at everything. Because you're not.
Yeah, no.
And wingsuiting and camera, and they're all different genres. So just approach them, learn, listen to people. And if someone says to you, dude, take a step back, just relax, don't downsize or whatever, don't downsize the parachute or whatever. If that guy has got 2 good working arms and 2 good working legs, he's probably doing something right. He's not trying to stop your fun. That's the thing. No one is here to stop you having fun. They want to elongate the time you can have fun.
They want you to be able to keep having fun.
That's the thing. And that's it. And if you're in the sport for a long time and you've got to the point where you go, I'm done with this, try something new. Go and get a wingsuit course. Go and do some free flying. Because I know a lot of people that have done FS for years and they're like, you know what, my drop zone's closed, so I'm probably going to hang it up. And I'm like, don't hang it up. There's so much to do. I don't know what I'll do when I start. I mean, I wakeboard. I snowboard in the winter. Not this winter because I'm working hard. But, I love different sports. I think as an instructor, you should always go back and learn something new.
Sure.
Because in that way, you realize, actually, that guy you can't arch isn't the retard. He just hasn't got it yet.
Sure.
And when I'm on a wakeboard and I know exactly what I'm meant to do, and then I stack it into the wake without standing up, and I go, God, now's the guy who can't arch. And it gives you a different perspective.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think I've said it on every single podcast. One of my favorite things about the sport is that you're always learning, and that even after all these years in the sport, because of all the dramatic changes, especially because of the wind tunnel that have come about, I suck at a lot of the stuff that's going on these days, which is wonderful because it just means I've got that much more I can learn.
Yeah.
When I took my, almost 4 years, I took a break from jumping. I had somebody else point this out. I didn't really take a break from the sport. I just stopped jumping. But I was still flying in the sport. Pretty much. Immersed. Yeah, so I'm still very deep in the community and deep in the sport and deep in all the activities. I just wasn't jumping because the jumping had just faded a little bit for me. So for me, taking a break was a great thing because then I came back and it had all jumped so far past me that now I'm just a fun jumper. It's fucking great.
Yeah. I see people rush in. People rush in, they want to get it done. I've got guys in the UK, and the guy's he's off his AFF, he's doing his formation skydiving. He's maybe got 60 jumps, and he's like, hey, Fordy, when can I do a wingsuit jump? And I'm like, well, 200 jumps in 18 months, 500 jumps if you can't do 200 in 18 months, you know? And he's like, oh, okay. Is there anywhere I can do it quicker? I'm like, oh, buddy,
Sure, you can go to Lodi.
Yeah. I'm like, come on. And that's sadly the mentality with a lot of today's society is get it done. Yeah. I can do it yesterday. No, it's instant.
Well, and
everything's instant.
Half of the time they don't even want to do it because they want to do it. They want to do it because they want to try and impress other people.
That's the other thing. If I can get it on Instagram, then I'm cool, right?
Yeah,
how many likes can I get?
I took this chick on a ride along a couple of weeks back, and she got in the airplane, put her headset on, and promptly the entire flight did nothing but take selfies.
I know, right?
I don't think she looked outside the plane once.
That's insane.
And I don't understand that mentality. I don't get it. If I've done my job right, or if I think I've done my job right, you should forget to take pictures, not forget to look outside.
Yeah.
So there's definitely a loss in communication between me and somebody.
You know what? That's an age group thing as well. Because I look at that and I laugh and I think, oh, you're so narcissistic. It's just terrible.
Sure.
But people live off it. And that's fine, but it has its place.
It does.
Take cool pictures, post cool pictures, and if people like them, they like them. But you know what? Don't sweat it if they don't.
And I never had an Instagram account until this last year, and I haven't used it, or until 2 years ago, and I hadn't used it for shit until I started doing this podcast. And the only reason that I really started to do it was to promote the podcast. I fucking hate it. all of the pictures are of other people. I have my guests on, and I say, okay, you guys send me really cool pictures because I don't have to fucking post pictures of myself. I can post them of you guys, and you guys are doing much cooler shit than me. I'm just flying a plane.
Yeah.
You guys are doing all the badass shit.
I thought Instagram was like the new Flickr. I thought Instagram was going to be photographs, going to be amazing, and you're going to post some cool shit on Instagram of skydiving and stuff that's just out of most people's reach, right?
Sure.
Because they just don't get off the couch.
Right.
And then I realized that when I saw a picture of, I don't know, whoever it was, and there was 370,000 likes, and it was literally just a picture of a chick's face. And then I posted a cool, badass picture of an XRW jump, blah, 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 with the sunset, and it got something like 125 likes. And I was just like, it's not about the photography, buddy. Don't sweat it. Don't chase it because... I know it's ridiculous.
Yeah. I've put up some of my guest photos that have, and granted I don't have much of a following, but just ridiculously amazing photographs that don't seem to get all that much attention. But one of the ones that keeps popping up in my feed is a chick's nipple with a fucking mouse tattooed on it.
I haven't seen it, but I can visualize it.
It's just a nipple as the face and the ears and the eyes.
I get
it.
I'm
like, you've got to be fucking kidding me.
Yeah.
You got to be kidding me. So
it's a popularity contest, bro.
Yeah,
and that's it. And if you want to enter that arena, then you're either going to be disappointed or
if that's your bag, then skydiving is going to be a rough sport on you.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have a thick skin in this sport, oh man. Yeah, soft-skinned people that are easily offended don't generally tend to do too well in skydiving. You got to have
it's quite a crew when it comes to some banter. It's good.
Oh, absolutely.
So well, it's brutal, but that's what we like, right?
That's kind of my favorite part about it. Yeah, so I can give as good as I can take, and God knows I've ended up having to be on both sides of that.
You can have some quiet days on the plane, and then you can have some days on the plane where you're actually thinking, am I getting paid for this? Like today for me, I got to be fair, I laughed all day long. My students were fantastic. I did 7 tandems. My camera flyer was fantastic. And the whole plane was just like some mini party going on all day. And I'm like, this is insane, dude. I'm getting paid for this.
Yep.
This is, and like everyone who says this is the best job in the world, I'm like, you are not wrong.
You're damn right. Well, and I have the same days up in the front where I'm having a hilarious conversations on the headset because me and another pilot that are flying another plane and the ground crew and everybody are just in that perfect vibe, and we're all shooting the shit and having a good time, and the people are in the back having a good time, and I'm getting high fives from people as they're going, and you hear the passengers screaming as they go out the door, and they're my favorites too because you get the ones with the good set of lungs that leave, and it's wow.
Oh yeah.
It's
falling
just
off a cliff.
Yeah, it's the cartoon version.
Yeah.
And those are the days when you're literally going, oh fuck, it's wow, this is ridiculously amazing, and you're heading home at the end of the day going, that was that work? Am I paying for that, or am I getting paid for that? No. I suppose that's the real test of it all.
It's not about the view, right?
No, well, it's part of it, but
it starts off about the view, and then after a while, it's just it's about just jumping with your bros and seeing the grins and
it's the joy of it all. Well, I'll tell you what, man, this has been absolutely fantastic. We're going to have to do it again sometime.
Yeah, sounds good.
Keep it in the air, man. Keep jumping.
Always
keep doing all that crazy shit. All right?
Thanks, Dave.
Blast. Take care.
Thanks, bro.
Cheers. Well, there you have it. Another episode of the Lunatic Fringe podcast brought to you, as always, by... Well, wait. Not as always, actually. Brought to you now by Gyro. Formerly known as NZ Aerosports, you'll head to gyro.com for their next level line of canopies. By Pussfoot, the Extreme Sports Collective. Head over to pussfoot.com to check it out. By Summit Parachute Systems, check out summitparachutesystems.com to talk to Jarrett Martin and the gang about kick-ass pilot rigs, rigging courses, and more. By Flyaway Indoor Skydiving, go to flyawaytn.com and check out all the cutting-edge stuff to come. By Pure Spectrum CBD, head to purespectrumcbd.com to check out their wide range of CBD products. And as for us, head to the lunaticfringepodcast.com to listen to any of the hundreds of episodes currently available, hit the link for our YouTube channel, pick up your copy of the Lunatic Fringe book or The Accidental Stripper, and get a sneak peek at upcoming guests. Once again, thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.